Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd with my friends over at yarnspirations.com. Today we're going to do the Rainbow Hexagon Beach Bag. As you see, I always wanted to do a hexagon bag. I've never done one before, so this is my first time. Started yesterday and now finishing today. Nice and easy. Using Lily Sugar and Cream yarn, we're going to be playing with this, and let's get you started on what you need to know. On page number 2 there's a crochet diagram of the hexagons, and we're going to have that available for you, and this is what we're trying to create today. Then what we're going to do is that we're going to single crochet ourselves when we go to join these to each other when you're going to do that. So you're going to single crochet these together, so there's really no sewing involved unless you want to do a liner, which we'll do in a separate video for this. So we're going to get ourselves all the way done to the single crochet line just like you see here. Now you're going to notice in black there is a single crochet going around. That is the joining when you're going to join this, and we'll cover that when you get to that moment. Once we get this together, we're going to then make our front panel and our back panel. It's easier to visualize it like this, and let's zoom in and let's take a look. So here's the schematic. We need 15 of these. Now you don't have to have the same colors like it does show in the pattern. You can do different colors if you wish. So we're going to assemble our front panel. I've already done this already. The back panel I've not done. I'm going to do that with you here on camera. I'm going to show you some tips on being able to put these together. So once the front and the back are assembled like this, see how you have these tick marks? So these just slide together, and then we just do our single crochet line, and then we put the other edge with this edge to form a round tube, and then all we're just going to do then is then seal the bottom as we do that, and then we're going to then come back and we're going to do 2 layers on top in order to finish this off, and then we're going to do some straps. So that's kind of what our goal is today. I'm going to do an optional lining for this that we have up here. It has the dimensions, and I'm going to do that as a separate tutorial just in case you're interested in that. So let's take a look at what this panel looks like, because I have that done. So here on camera is the front panel, so you can see that it looks just like it should in the diagram. So once we have this done, then we join the back panel to this in this section, and then create the tube shape, and then join everything together. Now this is the good side of it. So this is the side that if you're carrying it, this is the inside. So what you want to do is that when you're going to attach them, you put the front sides together, or the good sides together like so, and so the good side is on the other side because we're looking at the back. So we fold it over and put the good sides together just like you see. So the good and good, and then you just single crochet them together in order to form the bond. But before you really can do that, you have to really get all these done and get them all laid out, and then you begin to go. So without further ado, we need to learn how to do this. Let's turn back to the good side. We need to learn to do this, and then before you can do that, we just have to clarify some things. So you're going to need a 4mm size G crochet hook. They have some information in the pattern for the particular colors. I want to give you one particular warning just in case you're a loose crocheter. So on the bottom left of the front page, you're going to have all the information on how many colors that you need. So you need 1 ball, and then these are 2. I want to tell you this hot pink that I had, it says to use 1 ball, so it would have been green, but I didn't have green. I would recommend getting 2 of those balls. It says 1. I was like about 3 feet before I finished the last before I finished this ball. I was worried that I didn't have enough, but my point being is that if you're a loose crocheter, you're definitely going to use more than 1. So that's just my particular tip. Everything else, I was good to go. And finally, we're about to get started. I want to give you one tip. I would, if I were you and you were me and you were doing 15 of these, do all of round number 1 for all 15 at the same time. Then come back and do all of round 2 on each one of them, and then all of round 3, and etc. It's easier to remember the pattern if you do it like that than it is to start one, completely finish it, and then start a new one. So if you're going to keep the same coloring, or if you're going to randomize it, then either way, just make sure that you find a way that works for you. I told you I started yesterday and I'm finishing today, and that's because I work in the assembly line method. So let's begin. So I'm just going to randomize my colors. I just want to use what I have left, and I'm just going to do it. So if you want to follow a color pattern, you can follow that on the pattern itself. Let's create our slip knot. Let's begin the very first one, and we need to chain a total of 6. So starting with the first color, chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then form a ring by forcing this into the beginning one. So insert the hook into the beginning one, and then yarning over, pulling through and through, and therefore you have the center ring of your project. So let's move on to round number 1. Keeping with the same color, I want you to chain 2. Doesn't count as anything, it's a builder, so don't include that as anything. So into the center of the ring we want to create these little clusters and they're half double crochet. So you're gonna wrap this hook and you're gonna insert into the ring and then yarning over, pulling it through. You're gonna do that 3 times. So that was 1, wrap it again into the center for 2, and then wrap center again for 3, and you have all of this on your hook. So you're just gonna wrap and pull through everything. So just take your time to get that done. So that was 1. You need then to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and do it again. You need 6 of these here that are separated by chain 3. So just wrap into the ring and pull through, wrap in, pull through, wrap in, pull through, and then wrap and pull through everything, and then chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. Please do that all the way around and I'll see you at the end of the round. So I'm coming all the way back around. I've got my 6th one in, chain 3 first, and then what I want you to do you see that this strand here? I want you to insert the hook in there. We're gonna slip stitch there and pull through and through. And so you should have a total of 6 at this point. There's 6 sides of the hexagon, so that's what you're looking for. And then just cutting it. Don't cut extra long yarn because you'll run out. Especially that hot pink I was talking about earlier. So just pull through and I want you to weave it through the first section here so it goes across, and then go to the second section. And what's gonna happen is that we're going to play in this chain spaces over here and lock that into position. So don't cut this yet. Let's wait. Let's move on then to round number 2. Let's begin round number 2. I'm gonna use this beautiful robin's egg. It's one of my favorite colors of Lily Sugar and Cream. Let's insert our yarn, our hook, into any of the chain 3 spaces. It doesn't matter which one. So we're just gonna join it with the slip stitch, and then we're gonna do exactly what we just did. So we're just gonna chain up 2, and this time we're going to put in one of these clusters, chain 3, and then another cluster, chain 3. So that's gonna be 2 clusters into each one of these spaces. So let's do the first one first. So just in and keep wrapping, total, do it 3 times, and then that's a lot of yarn, so pull through everything, and then chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, same space one more time. Go right up over top of the straggler, so when you're catching it in position, I just automatically do it. I don't always say I'm doing it, but I do. And just do it one more time, pulling it through. If you drop it, pull back out. Now if you're not used to this, you will drop it. I did drop mine a few times when I was doing all those hexagons. Pulling it through, and then chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then just jump to the next space. So you can let that straggler fall out. So come to the next space, and I want you to put 2 of those clusters in there. So we have the first one, and then chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then back into it. If you need to move it, you can move it because it's just around the chain work, and do another one. And then chain 3 once again. So 1, 2, 3, and then put 1 in, chain 3, put another one in, chain 3, and then move on. Please do that all the way around. So each one of these chain 3 spaces has 2 clusters that are separated by chain 3s with each of these clusters. Okay, I'm coming all the way around. I got my second cluster in there. Make sure you chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then just join it to the top of the first cluster to begin. Okay, so each one of the clusters now has 2, or each one of the spaces now has 2 that has chain 3 spaces that separate them all. Please fasten this off, and let's go on for round number 3. Let's go for round number 3. So what we can do is that we are going to pay attention now to each one of these spaces. So see how there's 2 in the one? This is the corner, and then this one is the corner, and then this one is the corner. But this time what we're going to play is that as we go for number 3, we're gonna play with the corners and then establish a flat spot in the middle that creates your hexagon. So we're gonna just concentrate on 2 different things. So we're gonna just go in between one that's that you see here. Okay, so not this one, just right in between. See how it's in the corner? And let's just join it with the slip stitch, and we are going to start with our cluster. So chain 2 doesn't count as anything. So let's start and do our cluster. So just do it 3 times. This is the last time we do the cluster on these So this is the last round. Then you chain 3, so 1, 2, 3, and then in the same one do another cluster. So move it if you have to. And then chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. This time we're going to go then in between the corners. So let me just get this yellow one out of the way so it's out of the way. See how they're working together? So we're gonna go in this space right here, and that's where our cluster is, and there's only gonna be one into that one. This is now a flat spot of your hexagon. And then chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and now this is a corner again. So we're gonna put in one cluster first. Then followed by chain 3, and then another one. And then chain 3, and now we're in between the corners, so there's gonna be one by itself like it was over here. So just put a cluster in there between, followed by a chain 3, and now you've got a new corner again, so there's gonna be 2, and then there's 1, and then 2, and etc. Please do that all the way around for this round for number 3. Okay, when you get all the way back around, then you're just going to then slip stitch to the top of the first one. So you should have 2 into the 1, then 1, and then 2, and just do a quick double check just to make sure. Get rid of this yarn now, just fasten off, and we're gonna move on then to round number 4. So let's move on to number 4. So I'm just gonna bring back orange again. I didn't use a lot of it in the original, so I got lots of this left in the ball. So what we're going to do then, round number 4, we're going to now convert into half double crochets going all the way around. So start off in the corner. So pick any corner that you have. So don't start off in any spaces in the flats. I know it's kind of hard to see the hexagon yet, but it is there. So just go right in between, and let's start our first one. So we're just gonna chain up 1, and we're gonna count chain 2. So we're actually chaining 2, and then in the same one I want you to put in 2 half double crochets. So 1 and 2. Then we want to finish this corner, so we're gonna chain 2, and then into the same one again 2 half double crochets. So 1 and 2. So here's what we're going to do, is that we're going to then fill in these spaces here. So we're not working in the tops of these clusters. So the first space is gonna be 3 half double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. And then jump to the next space, it's not a corner yet, and put in 3 in that one too. So 1, 2, and 3. And then I want you to then continue to the next corner one here. So this is gonna be 2 half double crochets. So let's try that again. So just 1 and 2, and then chain 2, and then do 2 more to the same one. So that allows you to turn. You'll see the hexagon really starting to appear at this point. Now you just jump to the next space. It's not a corner, so it's gonna be 3 half double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. Jump to the next space. 1, 2, and 3. And then you're in the next corner. So it's gonna be 2 half double crochets. So 1 and 2. Chain 2, and then another 2, and that is your corner again. So please do that same idea going all the way around, and this is round number 4. Okay, when you come back around, you're just filling in the spaces that you know, and we started off in the corner, so that means the last space that's in the flat side should have 3 half double crochets, and I want you to join it to the first half double crochet. Remember, you chain 2, that doesn't count as anything. I'm going to veer off in the pattern then from this point forward. I'm always gonna start off in the corner. I'm not gonna start off like it says in a mid section. I think it's just easier to keep count, but that's just me. If you prefer that, please follow it in the pattern, but I'm gonna give you my own point of view for the rest of this on where you should attach. It's just as a personal preference, but it's easier for me as well. So let's just weave these in, and let's get ready then for the next round. So let's get our next color available, and I'm gonna go back to blue because I have lots of it, and I'm going to go into any of the corner that you want to go into. So this one's really quite an easy one, but I want to caution you on making sure that you start the stitch right after each corner properly. So I want you to just join it with the slip stitch. Let's try that again. So just going in, just join it and chain 2. So 1 and 2 doesn't count as anything. So even though I'm veering off, it still doesn't count. So we're just gonna lay down the straggler. So you're gonna put in 2 half double crochets first. So 1 and 2, and then follow it by chain 2 and 2 more half double crochets into that same corner. So the corners are gonna be the same as what you just did. Now here's the thing, whenever you do half double crochets, the actual entry point to the first one is buried underneath this section here, so you just gotta move it out of the way and expose that strand right there, right underneath, and that's gonna happen each time you hit a corner. So that's your first stitch. So if you start losing count, that's where you're gonna lose it. So that's your first stitch, this is your second, and you're just gonna move yourself all the way to the next corner. So the next corner will obviously be 2 half double crochet, chain 2, 2 half double crochet, and I'll be there in a moment. So I'm going right up over top of the blue line or the blue strand. And just doing half double crochet, so it's keeping it nice and tight. Okay, so this is the last stitch, so don't go too far that you're adding a stitch. So this is, see how it's on the right hand side of that? That's the last stitch. So now we go into the corner, so it's 2 halves, chain 2, 2 halves. And like before, it's gonna cover over top of this first stitch. It's right underneath there. This is the second. So just move it, just shift it out of the way to expose it, and it's right there. And then just keep moving around like that. So please do this entire round, just like I just showed you. So I'm coming to the end of round number 5. We just have one more round to do. Now the final round is the round that you're gonna want the main top of your bag and the straps to be. In my case, in the original, I'm doing purple. So you wanna make sure your final round is going to be pretty much the same. Even if you're making everything random inside, make sure the outside perimeter, which is the next one, is you're going to be the regular color. Don't forget, don't forget every stitch along the way, and then just join it to the top of the first half double crochet. Get rid of this color now, and let's get our final color that concludes off your hexagonal. I was gonna say hexagonal square, but it's not. It's a hexagon. So let's get your final color. I'm gonna go for red. Red's always a sharp color. So we're going to start off our red, and we're going to start off in a corner. Again, if I'm improvising from the pattern, it tells you to start over here. I'm going to start right in the corner. Just for me, it's easier to keep count. So I'm just going to join, chain 1, and you're going to single crochet in the same corner, chain 1, and single crochet again in the corner. So that's what the corners are. Single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. Like it is before, the first half double crochet is kind of buried, so move that out of the way to access your first stitch. Okay, and it's just single crochets going across. It's just that first one that gets hidden because single or half double crochet stitches do that, especially in a corner. Most people will go wrong on a corner using half double crochet because of that. So we're just single crocheting ourselves across. Wow, this red looks sharp. But you can see how I changed the color. Isn't that neat? Completely, it almost feels like a completely different project, but it's kind of the same. So this one is really quite cheerful that I'm working with, and the red is just making it pop. Go all the way across. And now that's the last stitch. Don't go into this what you think looks like a stitch, because it's not. Then go into the corner to single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, and then start your first one. So if it's not exposed, just shift it out of the way and expose it. In this case it was. And just continue to go single crochets along. Please do this all the way around for your final round. This is number 6. When you get all the way back around, just make sure that you slip stitch to the top of the first single crochet, and then get rid of this yarn, and then you're done. So you need to do 15 of these before you can continue on to the next part of this tutorial. So get that done if you haven't already done so, and then we're gonna move on, and then we'll show you some tips on how to put things together. Putting it together actually doesn't take very long, as I'm really quite surprised because I've done the front really quite easily, and now we're gonna do the back with you live on camera. So we're back to here and you should have 15 done, and then what you have to do is assemble 2 panels that look like this. So what we need to be conscientious of is to make sure that we have the right sides facing up and the up direction so that you're looking at it, and then we're gonna just put things together. So let me show you what this one looks like, and we're gonna do this one live on camera and give you some tips. So here is the front one. You can see you have 1 2 1 2 3 and then 1 2. So the back one we're gonna have 3 in a row and then 2 and then 3, and then once you get these done, then you're just gonna put this piece together with the other piece on this side and this side to form the tube. So let's turn it over to the back. So the back is where we need to concentrate to put the single crochet stitches, and if you're very strategic about it, what you can do is that you can start off in one and just work your way along your seam and then lay it down and then keep on going and then keep on going and keep on going and etc., and put things together as you go. So you don't have to fasten off every time you just do one. You can just keep on moving around. So what I found with myself is that I went in and then I went all the way around here, kind of attached them, and then I went and did the individuals here. But again, you can make a decision that is right for you when it comes to that. So let's just lay out our hexagons, and let's do it in the back motion. So let's lay these out that looks like the diagram, and I'm checking to make sure I'm looking at the good side. You should be able to identify that. The other side kind of doesn't look the same, so just make sure that they're all facing in the same direction. And so there is 3, so that the point is down, and so I'm gonna do the next one and the next one, and then what I'm gonna do, the next one's up right in the middle, and then finally we got 3 across the top. So 1 2 and 3. So you kind of see the flat edges are kind of matching each other, and I'm just double checking that one to make sure that I'm not looking at the wrong side of that one. And what I want to do is that I want to keep it down like this on the table, and then I want to kind of follow it up. I'm not gonna do everything with you on camera. I'm just gonna give you some tips. So my first goal is to be strategic. Where can I go here to attach the maximum without having to fasten off? So I could go up, across, and then over, and then basically I have these 6 all attached all in one pass. And then what I can just do then is come back and do other things with that. So I'm looking at the good side. So what I want to do is that I want to create a slip knot with my hook and my yarn and my hook, and I want to take these sides and I want to put the good sides so that they're facing each other, so they're both the good sides. So just fold up the other one, so now the good sides are touching each other, and now just grabbing it up and start off in a corner. So in the chain 1 space in a corner on the first one, and just get the chain 1 space on the next corner. And then just because the stitches are all equal, you're just gonna pull it through everything, chain 1, and single crochet through that same join again, just extra security. So moving to the next stitch on the first one, the next stitch on the back one, just single crochet yourself across. Noticing that I'm going right up over top of the straggler, so I'm locking that into position as I go, and after I get it in for about an inch or 2, I can pretty much let it go and just leave it out of the way, and I'll cut it out later. So I'm just gonna move that out of the way now and keep on moving. So it's a single crochet join. You can sew if you want to, but this is gonna be in the inside of the bag, and if you're gonna apply lining, you'll never see these seams anyway. So, and really it's no big deal if it's on the inside of the bag, the seams. What you want to pay attention to, if there looks like there's anything uneven, just kind of like manipulate it a bit so that you can ensure that it's the same. Sometimes you can lose track if you were watching TV too much or whatever when you were making them. Also make sure that you go into both of the stitches on both sides. The last one I just missed one. So if one side is not gaining on the other, let me just zoom in and show you. So if one side is actually not equal, see how the back side looks a little bit bigger? You can just go in the same stitch that you were just in, because it's on the inside, and advance one on the back, and that will shift the number of stitches. Okay, so you kind of went in two into the first one here, but the other ones you kind of just balanced it out and just lay it out flat and see if it gets out. Just see if that's gonna fix that up on you. So why frog it when you can fake it, right? So the trick is that you don't want to get confused on what sides that you're working on. So after you get these joined, you want to lay it back down on the table. And you're going to finish off in the very corner, so in the chain one space in the corner, which will be the next one here. So chain space, chain space. So it's hard to know where you need to move. So what I want you to do is, we'll go back at the camera again, and I want to lay it flat so this is on the bottom side. Okay, so we're looking at it here. And remember what we're going to do. So this one here can join. So this is the front side, so lay it down the front side to the front side, and then just carry on along this path here. So I want you to do that every time you get to the end. Lay it back down and see what you can grab and continue along. So I want you to attach both of your panels together to like it looks in the diagram, and then we'll be back. Okay, so now I have sewn the sides, and now if you look at it, this was the top, so 2, 3, this is slightly folded over because it's been pulled around, and we are going to worry about the bottom. Now here's the thing, you can't just sew across the bottom or like slip or single crochet across the bottom. You have to be strategic about it because this point has to go in and attach here. The problem is you end up with this little area over here and here. So as per the pattern, these two here are put together. Okay, so just this point and this are put together. Then you single crochet yourself across, joining it to the neighbor, and then on the other side this point and this point get put together. So let's just do this just to get you started. We're going to start off with the slip knot. So fold it in half so it lines up, and then you're just gonna go right in the outside one here and just line up your single crochets. And I'm just attaching with the slip stitch, single crochet, and then single crochet in the same spot. So what I'm just doing is that I'm matching, this one's just being folded in half, so it's pretty much being doubled onto itself, and you're single crocheting it there, so it kind of creates a little flat spot in the bottom. It's the only way this works. Actually, I was looking at the instructions, I'm like, I don't understand, and then it occurred to me when I put it down that I have to fold it because it's left over. I'm like, I don't know what to do with that, and then I'm realizing this is where you fold. You know, worst comes to worst, try again, and then you're gonna come into the corner, okay, and then you're just gonna join to the corner. So now you're just gonna follow this along, so just follow and then keep following up and down, and when you get to the other side just make sure this is still folded in half and just do that the other side. Okay, so please do this all the way across. So I've sewed along the base. Remember, this was folded in half, and then this is all matching. So you notice that it doesn't look completely flat. That's because it's now converted some of these to be the flat area. So let's turn this the proper way. So we've been looking at the inside of the bag the whole time. I haven't actually turned this the right way yet, so if I'm in for a nightmare then you're gonna see it live on camera. So here we have, that's actually pretty good. I'm actually really happy with that. That's awesome. I've never done one of these before. I've always wanted to, just never got around to it. Just like that. So now we just got to shape it. So you see that some of these then were kind of just turned to be the flat areas, just like you see here, and it's awesome. Let's turn it a little over. Look at the back side. You see you got a flat area. So you would have thought that you would have had a jagged edge, but you don't, because some of the hexagon from before is coming up over top just to fill in the spaces. That's awesome. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on and we're going to finish off this top edging. There's 2 rows for that. I just got to concentrate for that, and then I'll be right back. So we're now going to follow the diagram, and we have to go up a hill and then down and then up and down. So what I want to do for this is that I'm going to start off in a peak, and then we're going to then just go completely around, and I'm gonna show you how to get beyond a peak, and then you can reverse back if you need to review it again in order to follow. So let's create a slip knot. I'm using purple. It's the same color I have been using then for all the edging. So we're just gonna go right into the top edge. We're just gonna slip stitch right into the chain 1 space, but we're not actually using that chain 1 space for anything. We're just using it as an anchor. So we're gonna start off, in our first 5 stitches will be single crochet. So moving across, so let's count those out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I'm just gonna move this straggler out of the way. So now the next 5 will be half double crochet. So let's count those out. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now the next 3 will be our double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. And now the next 2 are trebles. So you're just gonna wrap the hook twice. And then finally we're at the top, and we're gonna join 2 of them together. So we're gonna go 2 trebles together. So wrap in the hook twice, go into the next stitch, pull through 2 and 2, and hold it. Don't finish that stitch. Wrap twice again, come to the other side, okay, to the other hexagon, pull through 2, and hold it. You have 3 loops on the hook, pull through all 3. That was the 2 together, and that was the treble. So let's go back up the other side. So we're gonna go 2 trebles first. So 1 and 2. So it's exactly opposite to how we got to the middle section. So now the next 3 are going to be double crochets. So 1, 2, 3. And now the next 5 are half double crochets. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And finally the last 5 are single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the next one is the chain 1 space. So then what you just do is that when you get up there, you don't do anything, just skip right over it and then start on the first single crochet, and we just go down and then back up. So just reverse this video now to go to follow from this point to go back up for the remaining if you don't remember. When you get all the way back around, I just want you to just slip stitch to the first single crochet. Now you can look at the diagram and you can think to yourself, oh, there's a lot of stitches to count, but I wouldn't. What you can do is that you can see the points, right? So the first 5 will be 5 single crochets. The rest of them will be half double crochets, but leading up to the final point, the last 5 will be 5 single crochets. So 5 single crochets going down, the rest are halves, and then the 5 coming back up, the last 5 coming back up the next point are single crochets. So let's just get ourselves there. So you can count if you wish, but if you had to improvise it all, then it wouldn't work. So chain up 1, so the first 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now you can half double crochet, and then I look at the point on the other side. So when I get close, I'm just gonna look backwards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right from there to here where I'm pinching is going to be half double crochets. So please do that all the way. This is your last round, and then we're gonna start the handles next. When you get all the way back around, the last 5 of course are going to be your single crochets, and then that's it. So what we need to do then is we need to apply the handles, and then just slip stitch to the last one and just fasten this off, weave in your ends, and let's begin to do the handles next. Okay, now that we're done the main body of the bag, we have handles left, and the handles are actually pretty easy. You can see here they're like a snake that you're holding on to, and it's double the yarn thickness in order to get this so it's a nice good grip. I'm also going to note that when it's attached, based on the picture, it looks like it's attaching further in, so it's actually not attached to the very top, it's attached to the inside of this. So you want to be conscientious when you're going to attach. For example, you may want to use the same color here so that it can just bury in so that you don't see it as much as well. But let's before we can attach, we need to do the handles first, and you need to do 2 of them. So let's do both. So here we have two handles, and you're going to notice it's got a rotation to it. So what's gonna happen is that we're gonna chain across, we're gonna double crochet back, and then we're gonna jump to the other side of the foundation chain and double crochet back again, and then slip stitch ourselves then across. So it's double the thickness, so there's two yarns being used at one time in order to create it, so it gives it a marled look just like you see, and it also gives it strength. So that's what we're gonna be doing now. So let's get our yarns ready, and we're gonna use the same size crochet hook, and let's go. So my handles are already done, so I'm going to just show you a small example, and you need to chain with two strands. So treat them like they're together, and don't separate them, and keep them together, and you are going to just create a slip knot with them both together. So you're going to chain 84. That's the magic number for you. I'm not going to do that here because I've already done mine, so I'm just going to do 15. So chain 84 if I were you and you were me. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 and 15. Go all the way to 84 for me, and then meet me back here in just a moment. Now that you'll have 84 done, what you need to do is you need to go 4 chain back from the hook. So just there's one hook, 1 2 3, and go to the 4th and get the back hump of the stitch, and you'll have 2 strands because you're using 2 strands at one time. So just double crochet 4 chain from the hook, and you've turned it over and get the back hump so that you end up with the perfect edge on the one side, so that you can use this later for when you're coming back around. And all you're just going to do then is just double crochet yourself back across your entire chain. Just make sure you don't drop any of the strands, so keep them both together at the same time. They may switch positions, which gives you a marled look. It's called marled yarn when you do stuff like this. So please just go across your chain and see me back here in just a moment. So I'm getting close to the very end, and I want to make sure that I get to the end of the chain. Your chain obviously will be longer if you're following along and not doing this small example like I am. So it'll be a long chain, and you're gonna come to the very end. Now unusually, I've never seen this done before in a, I'm just gonna finish the last one, but I've never seen this done before when doing a strap, where we just suddenly go back on the other side without preparing to do so. And what I mean by that, we got the last one, so what I want you to do is turn it upside down, and this is what we have been crocheting into, and immediately crochet into the same one that you just did. So double crochet into the same one that you just did, and just continue to go across the underside of the chain. Usually what happens when they do that is that you have to like put extra stitches in the end of a chain and stuff, but in this case it doesn't. And I think one of the reasons why they haven't got you to do that is that it will fold up onto itself to create the thickness. So once you get the first one in, go to the next one, and you're working on the underside of the chain. Now because you want in the back hump or the back stitch of the chain, you're going to notice that you're just working into the perfect stitches as you go. Do you see that? It looks like a perfect stitch. It's what you were, it's the underside of the chain because you went in the back hump. So all you're just gonna do now is just double crochet yourself all the way back to the other side of your chain, and meet me back here in just a moment. So I'm getting all the way back to the other side. So it looks like you have the double thickness of a strap at this point. It looks great, doesn't it? So you're just gonna come into the very last one, and then we're gonna do something special. We're gonna create the roll. So chain 1 first, and then what I want you to do is sneak into the very first stitch like this, and go into the very first stitch on the other side, and I want you to slip stitch. So just pull them together, make sure you get both of your strands, and all you're just going to do is just match them up as you go. So just go into both and just slip stitch, and then go into your next one and next one. Just give it a bit of slack so that you don't over tight. The problem with slip stitching is that you can accidentally go too tight, and then it will cause the handle to buckle. So give it a bit of slack, just kind of pull it up and just pull through. And once you get into the swing of it, I was doing mine last night, so I got into the swing of it. So I'm getting a little rusty at this moment, so practice makes perfect, and you're just gonna slip stitch yourself all the way down to the end, and then that's it. So you want to create 2 handles that are doing this, and so this now becomes the handle to be able to grab onto. So let me just meet you at the end of this row. So once you get to the end of the row, that's it. That's the end of the line, and then all you're just going to do then is just cut your yarns and then just pull it through and then fasten off like that. So that's a smaller example of the larger handle, and you can see you can grab onto it quite nicely. So what we want to do is that we want to get 2 of these done, and then we're gonna go to the project and then fasten this on. So let's do that next. So right now I'm getting 4 yarn markers ready. So there's just extra yarn that I have left over from this project, and what I want to do is that I want to measure in 4 inches. So it's still folded in half, and I can tell that it's folded properly because the base should be flat, just like you see. Okay, so if that's not flat, then something's wrong. So what I want to do is come back to the top, and I want about 4 inches. So I'm just gonna just kind of measure it out just with my hand, and that's where exactly where I want it. So I want to grab both of the front and the back at the same time. So all I'm just going to do then is that I'm just gonna pull through both here. Okay, and I'm gonna go in again just on the back side and just pull a second one through, and then continue to pull that front one. So now they're both in there. So this is gonna indicate where I want to sew. So let's go to the other side. Let's do about 4 inches. So you see it may not be equal. So do you see how it's kind of like measuring up to this? So it's kind of actually lining up properly. So I'm going into both. I'm pulling it through both. And then where that one is coming out of the back, I want to go in that one by itself, grab a new one. And I'm only going in both because I'm just making sure I don't miss what it is. So then pull that front one all the way through. Okay, so these are where I'm going to attach the actual straps. So let's grab our straps and let's start attaching. So all I'm just going to do is use the same color that this top frame is. So I'm going to use purple. I want to create a slip knot on the one side of that strand, and I want to insert the yarn through a darning needle on the other side. And then I want to grab my strap. So these straps, it doesn't matter which one we're gonna do first. We can do the back one if you want to, because it's there. And what I want to do is that when I go to attach these, I want to make sure that there's no weird twist to it. So make sure that it follows. So I'm gonna put the slip stitch line that you see on the underside, and that's exactly where I want to lay it down. So all I'm just going to do is that I'm gonna let it sink down a little bit. Okay, so this is the inside of the bag that you're looking at. So when I go to attach, what I want to do is start on this side and then just go through. And because you're using the same color, you can actually go right through your project on the other side. But what I want to do is I want to stop as soon as that slip knot is coming up close. Okay, the slip knot's there, and I want to circle back into this project and come back out this side. And before I pull it nice and tight, I want to put it through the hole of that slip stitch or the slip knot, and then tug on it, and then it pulled everything nice and tight. So all I'm just gonna do now is take my time of going in and out to being able to fasten this on. I can get rid of my stitch marker now, and I'm gonna take my time. Take your time, do it right, make sure it's nice and secured, especially if you're gonna add weight, and just keep on going in and out and just going through different spots all the way through the handle. And then what I'll do is I'll meet you back here in just a moment. I'll show you how to get rid of that starting strand, and we'll do that. So let's do this right now. Okay, once you think you have it in good enough like I do, all I just want to do is just take this yarn, just going through a few fibers, and just kind of make it tie onto itself. So now it's kind of locked. So now I want to take the remaining of the strand and go back in and out of the fibers 3 times. So 1, I'm gonna go 2 and 3. So once you go in and out 3 times, it's pretty much never gonna fall out on you. Well, it shouldn't. And then you can cut it safely right down. And what you can do at this point then, that starting strand that you had, just like here, what I want to do is put it in the needle in, because I didn't leave a long enough strand because I wasn't thinking that far in advance, and I want to push that through. Now because you already did a slip knot, it'll automatically just stay tied to itself, so you can just pull it through, and therefore you can cut it to where it comes out. So what I want you to do is that I want you to attach all your handles at this point, and this is how you'll do it. And on the other side, because you use the same color as the purple, you don't even see it. So continue to do that, and I'll see you at the end of this tutorial. So this is it. I have attached my handles and they're good to go, and there is my bag. It's actually a pretty fair sized big bag, to be honest with you. It says it's a beach bag, and I can see why it is too. You can fit those towels in and more. I've always wanted a hexagonal kind of concept bag, and now I'm good to go. And that's it for now. So until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of the Crochet Crowd as well as my friends over at Yarnspirations. Enjoy your new bag. We'll see you again real soon. Bye bye.